All right, well, good morning. As the 2-month anniversary of the Los Angeles County wildfires approaches this week, I take heart in sharing that we are making steady progress in our efforts to rebuild communities and will continue to share the latest updates with residents on an ongoing basis. The devastation and displacement of Altadena is experienced differently by every resident. Those who've lost their home have different needs than the renters, or those whose houses are still standing but are not yet able to get back into their home. It's important that we keep the needs of all of our residents in mind. We must work hard to equip them equitably with all the information they need during the recovery process. I'm hosting a special virtual community meeting on Monday, March 10th at 5 p.m. to answer questions for renters and for homeowners whose properties are still standing. Residents can tune in for that on the Los Angeles County YouTube channel and can submit questions ahead of time by scanning the QR code that's up on the screen behind me. I host weekly community meetings on Mondays that are an important way to stay engaged and informed about the latest recovery resources, but they're not the only way. At recovery.lacounty.gov, new information is added each and every day. I encourage you to check that regularly to get all the resources and forms that you need in one place. One of the newest additions to that site is an interactive graphic that breaks down the debris removal process and timeline. Residents can click through this interactive graphic to learn about the different safety protocols in place and to verify what will be removed and what will not be removed. It's a helpful resource that demystifies the process and helps residents know what to expect after they've opted into the debris removal with the Army Corps. At recovery.lacounty.gov, you can also access the new hazardous tree removal waiver. I know trees have been a hot topic recently in Altadena. Residents deserve a sense of ownership over the entire debris removal process. I want Altadena residents to know that when the debris is removed from your property, you will be able to have full control over what trees are taken out and which you want to stay. This form will allow you to specify exactly which trees on your property that you want to keep. The deadline to opt in for debris removal by the Army Corps is March 31st. Over 75% of Altadenans have opted in, but if you have not, please complete your form as soon as possible. In the debris removal process, I'm committed to ensuring residents are empowered, have autonomy, and have a voice to advocate for their needs and for their priorities. I'm also committed to advocating for residents' needs with the help of our federal partners. This week, I met with Scott Turner, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, to share about the path to recovery in Altadena. He was responsive and engaged and expressed his commitment to learn more about the needs of our fire-impacted communities. I look forward to joining him on a tour of the burn area in Altadena soon so he can get a firsthand look at the devastation to inform the support HUD offers our county as we rebuild. With that, I would like to turn it over to Supervisor Lindsay Horvath from the 3rd District.
Thank you and good morning. There are 4 key areas I want to touch on this morning. The first is protecting renters and consumers. On eviction protections, our board adopted a motion that I authored for countywide eviction protection for workers impacted by the fires. These are renters who are not able to continue to work because their place of employment existed within the fire footprint, and now they are without the ability to pay their rent. So this is a temporary protection to be able to stabilize them in the housing that they're in, and it includes funding for property owners to ensure that they are able to also receive assistance. Second is price gouging. Yesterday, our board passed an extension of the price gouging protections for housing. Our DCBA has shared a sample notification form for tenants to notify landlords of their inability to pay rent due to the fires. So if you are one of those tenants, there's a sample form of exactly how you document your inability to pay. And you can go right onto the website, rent.lacounty.gov, for that and for all other questions related to our protections. For March rent, tenants must notify landlords by March 7th, and rental housing, short-term rentals, motels, and hotels through April 8th. Without this action that we took yesterday, some protections would have expired this Sunday, and we know the widespread price gouging continues, so that's why this board took unanimous action. Anyone who takes advantage of vulnerable residents will be met with civil penalties up to $50,000 per violation. You can report price gouging at DCBA and you can, by calling 1-800-593-8222, or you can go to stoppricegouging.dcba.lacounty.gov, or you can call our California Attorney General or go to his website at oag.ca.gov/report. The second topic I want to touch on is relief funds. The county has 3 active relief funds, one for households, that's for residents who have been impacted by the fires, small businesses, and workers. All 3 of these have deadlines of application for assistance of March 12th. Los Angeles County is investing so far $53.9 million in these relief funds available, and the county invested $32.2 million directly, and $21.7 million has come from our philanthropic partners, and we thank them for their partnership and for investing in those who have been deeply impacted by these tragedies. The third topic I want to touch on is our environmental updates, and I want to share a PSA from the Marine Mammal Care Center related to increasing numbers of sea lions who are sick due to algal blooms, which cause domoic acid toxicosis. Last year, the center reported 6 sea lions on the beach from Will Rogers to Redondo Beach. So this is something that happened last year and is now happening again this year. So while it is caused potentially by those algal blooms, we certainly know that the impact of these fires could aggravate what we are experiencing. So community members are encouraged to keep a safe distance from stranded animals and to report their location to the Marine Mammal Care Center at 800-39 Whale. The center believes the current situation is due solely to domoic acid toxicosis, and we want to thank them for the Marine Mammal Care Center at the Marine Mammal Care Center for all of the work that they do to support our wildlife. And we continue to address concerns on our coast with absolute urgency in partnership with Cal OES and all of our partners who are committed to protecting our environment. Finally, I want to talk about the rain predicted for this week. Please stay prepared and informed with rains on the way. You can refine your emergency plan and be prepared to evacuate, and no evacuation warnings currently exist. There are certainly no orders now, but please be ready. Our Santa Monica Mountain communities in particular continue to bear the brunt of ongoing road closures and debris flows in the 3rd District. We know that Topanga, Big Rock, Sunset Mesa, and Malibu are particularly impacted. So everyone is working and coordinating to move with urgency to return to some sense of normalcy, while also being aware that the conditions of the weather conditions this week may impact our ability to easily move around in the area. So I want to thank everyone for staying informed and for all that we're doing to keep each other safe. I'd now like to welcome up Angela George Moody, our Chief Deputy Director from LA County Department of Public Works.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. Good morning, everyone. As was stated, my name is Angela George Moody, and I am the Chief Deputy Director for Los Angeles County Public Works. I'm here to provide updates on the debris removal right of entry process, as well as the county's state of preparedness for the upcoming storm. Let's take the storm first. Light to moderate rain is expected to arrive in LA County later this morning and continue through Friday morning at 6 a.m. Rainfall totals are forecast to be up to 1 inch for the coast and valleys, and 1 to 3 inches in the foothills and mountains. There's also a 10 to 20% chance of thunderstorms that could produce heavy downpours. With this level of rainfall, there is a potential for isolated mud flows, and some streets could be blocked by mud and debris. We have assessed all Los Angeles County flood control facilities and to ensure that they are ready to protect the public, property, and the environment. All protective measures that safeguard communities or safeguarded them during the last series of storms remain in place. We've assessed these measures and made adjustments as necessary, and we are ready for this storm. We are also collaborating with state and local partners, including the cities of Los Angeles, Pasadena, Malibu, Sierra Madre, and other affected recent fire areas. So let's talk a little bit about what the public can do. We encourage members of the public to develop an emergency plan. Know your property's risk factors, clear drainage paths, use sandbags to direct runoff and protect structures. Keep trash cans and vehicles off the street to allow stormwater to travel freely. Stay tuned to local weather reports and follow the instructions of law enforcement if told to evacuate. Motorists should avoid burn areas and mountain roads. Finally, to report any storm-related damage, traffic signal outages, or schedule free mud flow assessments and advice, we want you to call LA County Public Works, our 24-hour dispatch center, at 1-800-675-4357. Now I'm going to switch a little bit to the right of entry program. As both supervisors stated, with just over 3 weeks remaining before the March 31st deadline, I strongly encourage residents affected by the recent fires to visit LA County Recovers, the LA County Recovers website, or go to a local recovery center to submit your right of entry. To date, the county has received over 8,000 submissions to opt into the government-sponsored program for Phase 2 debris removal. With the March 31st deadline in sight, we have doubled down on our outreach to affected property owners and dedicated even more staffing and technical resources to the right of entry form review process. Our procedures for reviewing the right of entry submissions include a rigorous verification process that protects property owners from fraud. So please, if you've already submitted your right of entry form, continue to closely monitor your emails inbox for official correspondence providing the status of your submission or requesting additional information. You can also call the right of entry hotline at 844-347-3332 for more information. With that, I thank you and I introduce Colonel Eric Swinson from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Good morning, LA County. Big thanks to the County Board of Supervisors for the opportunity to provide this update as we do every Wednesday during this recovery operation. I'm going to like to start by saying I know election season is over, but as you've heard my colleagues before me say, if you're a survivor and you haven't elected your right to opt in or to opt out, I encourage you to do so before the deadline. For Phase 2 operations, they are well underway in both the Palisades and Eaton fire impacted areas. As of this morning, about 10 minutes ago, we've received a total of 2,212 rights of entry. Although county has transmitted to us a little bit more than that, we're currently in the process of intaking those, and we'll get those assigned to our contractors here this morning. Of those, say 2,213 ROEs that have been submitted to the contractor, a little bit more than half of those were for the Eaton fire impacted area, and a little less than half are for the Palisades fire impacted area. So please, deadline is coming. I encourage everyone who is sitting on the fence or thinking about it to call us, to call the county, to get the facts, and to make an election so that we can get this process started on your property. Properties with a final sign-off, that's fully complete, and ROEs returned back to the county as of this morning was 109. We also have active work going on many more properties in the impacted area. I think we've cleared primary fire debris from about 322 properties, and we continue to do that every day. Properties that have a completed final sign-off for properties that have the complete debris removal have undergone hydromulching and erosion control, and as I said, their ROEs have been returned to the county. That's the ticket for that owner to start the next big phase, which is the rebuilding phase. For deferred properties, these are properties that the EPA has deferred. Originally, there was 4,499 of those properties. The Corps of Engineers is following behind the EPA to do a second round of household hazardous material collection, and as of last night, we had cleared 1,997 of those, and hoping to get to 50% here in the next day or two. Okay, so just a quick review of how the process works. When you get your ROE and it's accepted by the Corps, we'll get a phone call 3 to 5 days in advance. That's a call from our call center to the surviving family. There's going to be discussion about tree waivers, about trees. There'll be a second call 1 day prior, and then we'll do a 360 site assessment the day we show up. All of those are opportunities that homeowners, survivors can have to interact with our crews and to share maybe some intimate details about their property that we wouldn't otherwise know. We're actively working through our queue and hope to get to your property quickly. Let's go over to trees. I mentioned that briefly. A hazardous tree, this is like a tree that is a high risk of falling and hurting someone, is defined as any tree within the ash footprint that poses an immediate threat to lives, public health and safety, or property within its fall range. As part of our efforts to continuously improve our practices and listen to the community, we conducted a review of our processes for removing hazardous trees with our contractor yesterday. We created an additional color marking. It's a yellow dot at the base of the tree along with a yellow ribbon, which signifies that the tree has been waived from the removal process. Last week, I shared that the county was working on that tree waiver, and I'm pleased that that is now hot or live on the county website. And also, we will have that with our crews at the 72-hour call or the 3 to 5 day call, at the 1 day call, and when we show up for the 360 assessment. So there is lots of opportunities for survivors to work with our crews to express their concerns and their desire to keep specific trees that we have deemed to be a high risk and hazardous. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about spray painting trees and paint on trees. There are members of the community that are self-marking trees in an attempt to try to save them. And I ask you, I urge survivors, do not paint the trees. Toxic paint is harmful to trees. We use a special tree paint. Property owners, because they have this opportunity to waive a tree and keep it, they don't need to take their own actions with regards to painting trees. Again, let's just talk about this waiver. So this waiver provides property owners with choices to retain specific trees that we have deemed to be hazardous. But they must understand there's a potential safety and regulatory implications. Important things for property owners to consider is that refusing hazardous tree removal or these high-risk trees may impact a homeowner's ability to obtain a building permit. Local permitting agencies determine rebuild requirements, and a remaining hazardous tree could be a factor in that decision. Property owners who opt to retain hazardous trees through the waiver assume responsibility for any future safety risk posed by the tree. And all of this is outlined in that tree waiver. I just want people to understand before they make a decision what they're waiving in the process. So I've been asked a lot of questions about how to attain a tree waiver. Property owners who wish to submit a waiver must complete the waiver of hazardous tree removal form. Again, it can be found at the county's webpage. It can be found on with our employees out there at the 72-hour call, at the 24-hour call, and during the 360 assessment. We are committed, and I have committed to the community, that we are here to listen and we are here to partner with community members. We want your feedback, especially with regards to your trees. And we look forward to having the discussion about the viability of your trees and achieving what your desires and wishes are. In closing, we are making great progress here in the community. If you're out and about, driving around either Altadena, Sierra Madre, Pasadena, Pacific Palisades, Malibu, or any of the unincorporated areas that were impacted by these fires, you're going to start to see cleared lots, that visible sign that the fire is now removed from that parcel. And over the next couple of weeks, the number of those cleared lots is going to increase drastically. I just ask you be a little bit patient with our crews. We are out in force. Today we should have over 75 primary debris removal crews. These are excavators with dump trucks running to landfills out on the streets. So I just ask everyone to be cautious when out in these roads. We're doing everything we can to ensure the public health and safety, not only for those who are out in the streets with us, but also to make sure we get this fire ash and debris from this uncontrolled lot across both fire-impacted areas into a lined truck and safely on a highway to a permitted disposal facility. Thank you. I'll be followed by Brandy Richard Thompson.
Good morning. My name is Brandy Richard Thompson. I am the Public Affairs Officer for FEMA Region 9, and I'm representing R.A. Fenton during this press conference. FEMA individual assistance is available for homeowners and renters in Los Angeles County. We're focused on those who have sustained losses from wind damage or wildfire damage, including total losses. Assistance may cover temporary housing, home repairs, essential personal property replacement, medical, dental, and other disaster-related expenses. Applying takes just 10 minutes and can be done via disasterassistance.gov, the FEMA app, which is available on iOS and Android devices, and our phone number at 1-800-621-3362. You can also visit a disaster recovery center in person, and for many people, this is really important. We have locations at the UCLA Research Park West at 10850 West Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles, and Altadena Disaster Recovery Center at 540 West Woodbury Road in Altadena. Our hours are Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. FEMA assistance includes up to $43,600 for housing assistance, which includes repairs, rental assistance, lodging reimbursement, and up to $43,600 for other needs assistance, which includes personal property, transportation, medical, dental, funeral costs, etc. We've heard from many of you that you have received a letter that says that you are not eligible for assistance. So we want to make it plain what you can do to continue your FEMA application. If you receive a FEMA determination letter stating that you are ineligible, it does not always mean that you are denied assistance. Often, FEMA just needs more information from you. Read the letter carefully. It explains the reason why you were found ineligible and how to appeal that letter. Provide missing documentation to us. This could include insurance settlement details, proof of ownership, or proof of occupancy. You may file an appeal, and appeals must be submitted within 60 days of the date of the letter that you receive from us. You can also visit a disaster recovery center, which I mentioned earlier, and begin the appeals process there. Or call our helpline, again, at 1-800-621-3362. Because we have spoken to so many of you through town halls and conversations that have been sponsored, and you have told us that you need additional information on how to apply for assistance, recognizing that our deadline is March 10th, we have put together a webinar that will occur this evening at 6:30 that you can participate in to learn all of the details that you need to know about the registration process, whether you are registering for yourself, your family, or a house of worship, to help you to understand FEMA's processes. To date, we have provided $83 million in support to survivors in their recovery process. And while we are proud of this number, we understand that many of you who have received insurance settlements or in the process of the insurance process have not received those dollars from us. And so we encourage you to reach out to us at a disaster recovery center, reach out to us at our 1-800 number, or participate in our webinar in order to find out how you can access the assistance that is available to you from FEMA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. We'll now transition to question and answer with members of the press. If you have a question, please raise your hand. When a microphone is brought to you, please state your name and the media outlet that you are with. We'll start right over here.
Thank you. Annie Rose Ramos, KTLA. This question is for County Supervisor Horvath. What is your reaction to former fire chief's appeal of the mayor's decision to remove her from her role, and your reaction, if any, to the outcome of the city council vote that occurred yesterday?
Well, I think she's pursuing what is legally entitled to her, and I think she's going through that civic process, and I support her right to do so. And I think a lot was highlighted as I wasn't able to watch the whole hearing, but from what I saw covered, a lot was discussed during that hearing, and I think that making sure that all of the facts are considered before decisions are made is a critical component. I think that's what we're doing here at the county as part of an after-action report, and I know that's what we're going to do with all of our various departments, and working to make sure that we are improving at the county the processes that we have in place.
But you still have the mayor saying one thing and former fire chief Crowley saying another. So to your point, what are the facts? Are you privy to any of them? Who is right, who is wrong?
Well, as you know, it is a city process. They have information that is held at the city that is not a county decision. And obviously, they're going to have to determine what their process will be going forward, because people deserve answers to their questions. I know that's why we're doing our process, and I suspect the city will do the same.
Thank you. We'll go right here in the middle.
Hi, my name is Christy Fajardo. I'm with Fox 11, and I have actually a couple of questions. First, I've talked to some homeowners in Altadena and also some private contractors that are a little frustrated about the homes that were phase 2 deferred. They say that the private contractors can't do the work because they have nowhere to dump it, and they say that they are hazmat certified, and that should be eliminated. Is the county looking at that and trying to make it possible for contractors to do that work?
Well, obviously, we're open to making sure the process works, and it's not a perfect science. And so I'm going to defer to the Army Corps of Engineers to advise in terms of that deferral process. Do you have any information on that?
Yes, Supervisor. So thank you for the question. As I mentioned, there's 4,499 properties that were deferred from EPA's clearance of household hazardous materials. I'm almost 50% through that backlog, and I know that in some cases, someone who wants to opt out of the program, it's really important for them to get, in order to find a place they'll take their debris, to have that marking that says that the household hazardous materials were collected before they did the opt-out debris removal. So that's a separate process that is managed by either the county in conjunction with the local governments in one of the cities. But we are doing everything we can to help the community get rid of the household hazardous materials, to help properly safeguard, collect, and dispose of the household hazardous materials so that other people can continue to do the process that they want to do. So,
Supervisor Barger, you just deferred to the Army Corps of Engineers, and that is actually one of the frustrations that
and I will tell you that we are aware of this issue, and our office has been in contact with some of those homeowners, and we are looking at it. But we look to the Army Corps on the deferral process, and if private companies are having a difficult time finding a landfill based on the fact that EPA has not cleared it, we will work with our county agencies to make sure that we streamline that process. Because again, I would prefer that everybody opt in, quite frankly, just for this reason. It makes it a lot cleaner and makes it far easier for us to navigate the difficulty of even getting the debris into the landfills, but we will be working with them.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question was, 5 weeks ago when I was here, I asked about the after-action report after Woolsey, and specifically vulnerable and disabled communities. And I was told that all that information would be sent to me. It was not. I also submitted a PRA, and I still have not received it. So I'm wondering if someone would like to address that here.
I'll follow up with our county council on the PRA. The county council is who manages our Release of Public Records Act request. So I'll follow up after. I remember talking to you about this. So I'll follow up and then I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Oh, do you have a last one?
In the Palisades fire, there has been questions raised about pre-deployment and whether enough firefighters were there. Are there any concerns about that in the Eaton fire now that you've had weeks to look at it?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I was focused on the Palisade.
In the Palisades fire, we've heard a lot about whether enough firefighters were pre-deployed, whether there are enough engines, and so forth. We haven't really heard that about the Eaton fire, so I'm wondering, do you have any concerns about that?
No, I have full confidence in Chief Maroney. Chief Maroney actually at a press conference at the beginning when the fires were out explained his decision in keeping shifts over. Obviously, it was a decision that was based on his concern about the red flag warning, but I'm sure the after incident report will have lessons learned. But in this case, I believe that the decision made by Chief Maroney and his team was the right decision as it relates to the number of boots on the ground that were needed to be prepared.
And if you'd like some follow-up, we also have Chief Al Yanagisawa here who can do a one-on-one with you to address that question. Did I see a last hand over here before we wrap?
Yeah, I mean, just a follow-up to your statement there. Lindsay, do you have a statement about the decision of what your fire chief at that time did when it came to redeployment?
So the county fire chief pre-deployed resources, just as Supervisor Barger said. We worked in partnership with the state to also have statewide resources deployed to this region in advance. And so I know that also our county OEM and our county respective departments were in conversation with the city about what we were doing. So I know that those conversations were happening, and all of our respective county departments were responsive to us and making sure that our office was kept up to date on how they were preparing.
Thank you, and that marks the end of our press conference. Thank you so much for joining us. If there's any needs for Spanish speakers, please come to the front.